late. Yeah, it's probably. Hello. Hello. How are you? You well? Good. How are you? Very well.
We delve into the recent developments surrounding President Cyril Ramaphosa's arrival at New York's JFK Airport for the 80th United Nations General Assembly, UNGA 80. The theme for this year's assembly is Better Together, 80 Years and Beyond for Peace, Development, and Human Rights. Introduction. President Cyril Ramaphosa has touched down in New York, leading South Africa's delegation to the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. This milestone event marks 8 decades since the adoption of the UN Charter, a document that has guided international relations and global cooperation. However, as the world celebrates this anniversary, questions arise about the UN's relevance and effectiveness in addressing contemporary global challenges. The UN at 80, a time for reflection. The United Nations, established in 1945, was envisioned as a platform for promoting peace, development, and human rights. Yet, President Ramaphosa has highlighted the organization's current fragility. He pointed out that the number of global conflicts is at its highest since World War II, with nearly half of the world's 1.1 billion people living in acute poverty residing in conflict zones. Additionally, threats to global health and climate action have intensified, challenging the UN's capacity to fulfill its mission. South Africa's role on the global stage. As the current chair of the G20, South Africa is uniquely positioned to influence global discourse. President Ramaphosa's participation in UNGA 80 underscores the nation's commitment to advocating for a more inclusive and equitable international system. He aims to champion the voices of the Global South, emphasizing the need for reforms in the UN Security Council to make it more democratic and effective. Key areas of focus at UNGA 80. 1. Peace and security. President Ramaphosa is set to address several pressing conflicts, including the ongoing genocide in Gaza, crises in Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the war in Ukraine. South Africa seeks to promote dialogue and peaceful resolutions, leveraging its reputation as a trusted mediator. 2. Sustainable development. A significant portion of South Africa's agenda revolves around advocating for a sustainable, inclusive, and resilient global economy. This includes addressing the disproportionate impact of global crises on developing nations and pushing for enhanced international cooperation to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. 3. Human rights and social issues. President Ramaphosa will convene a high-level meeting on women's, children's, and adolescents' health, aiming to set a global agenda for these critical issues. Additionally, he will participate in discussions on climate action, co-chaired by UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Bilateral engagements and economic diplomacy. Beyond the General Assembly sessions, President Ramaphosa's visit includes bilateral talks with world leaders and meetings with U.S. companies to advance South Africa's investment drive. The United States remains a strategic partner for South Africa, ranking among the country's top 5 export destinations. The call for UN reform. A central pillar of South Africa's agenda is the comprehensive reform of the United Nations Security Council. President Ramaphosa asserts that the current structure is outdated and does not reflect the geopolitical realities of the 21st century. He advocates for a more representative, democratic, and effective UN that can better address the challenges of today's world. Conclusion. As President Ramaphosa leads South Africa's delegation at UNGA 80, his participation signifies the nation's proactive stance on global issues. By advocating for peace, development, human rights, and UN reform, South Africa aims to contribute to shaping a more just and equitable international order. The outcomes of this assembly could have lasting implications for global governance and cooperation. If you found this analysis insightful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us bring more in-depth discussions on global affairs. See you next time.